Welcome to today's Explainer. Let's jump right into a pretty massive operational challenge for modern, ambitious teams. Look, we're seeing artificial intelligence integrated into practically every facet of business right now. But as the initial hype settles down, enterprise leaders are waking up to a glaring issue. How in the world do you maintain control when the tools you rely on operate as a total black box? Well, today, we are going to explore why teams absolutely need governed AI, and we'll unpack a really powerful concept called execution honesty.
So let me ask you this. Do your AI operations have real accountability, or are they just a loose collection of tools creating a bunch of hidden risks? It's a question every technical and operational leader needs to answer. Are your automated workflows acting on strictly verified instructions, or, are they just making assumptions? Because if you can't definitively trace exactly how an AI arrived at a customer response or drafted a contract, you don't actually have a governed system. You just have a guessing machine.
To figure this out, here's our roadmap for today. We'll quickly cover the risk of ungoverned AI, building with execution honesty, the controlled execution stack, keeping humans in control, and finally, proving compliance and security. Let's get into it.
Part 1. The risk of ungoverned AI. When AI isn't governed, teams are opening themselves up to massive risks. The default for a lot of companies lately has been to just stitch together all these disconnected, loose tool sets. And naturally, that causes absolute operational chaos. Without governance, AI actions completely lack clear human approvals and accountability. You also run into severe, potentially business-ending risks, like exposing data across your organization or creating security threats by leaving hard-coded provider keys exposed in your code. And maybe worst of all for your reputation, when it's time to actually deliver to a client, you literally have no auditable evidence showing how the work was done.
To get away from that chaotic Wild West of disconnected apps, organizations really need to shift toward a secure, enterprise-grade operating layer. Take an architecture like Lumio-Tek, for example. It explicitly brings your build tools, growth ops, client delivery, and training into one unified, governed environment. It's built from day one around governance, meaning things like organization-scoped data, role-based permissions, and append-only audits are baked right into the foundation.
Moving on to Part 2, building with execution honesty.
I absolutely love this concept. Think of execution honesty as the ultimate antidote to AI hallucinations and those hidden, annoying automated errors. It's the foundational principle that work is never, ever claimed as completed unless it can be explicitly verified with traceable evidence. Every action, every approval, and every output is totally visible and reviewable. The system never relies on some blind assumption. If your AI drafted a compliance matrix, there is a rock-solid, human-approved trail backing it up.
Comparing these two paradigms side by side really drives the point home. A loose toolset is all about convenience, right? But it totally sacrifices safety. It allows auto merges, loose data boundaries, and invisible AI generations. On the flip side, a governed operating layer strictly enforces execution honesty. It demands human approval gates before anything deploys. It uses tight, organization-scoped data so information never leaks, and it keeps append-only audits so the history of an action can never be secretly rewritten or erased.
All right, Section 3, the controlled execution stack.
So how does Lumio-Tek structure enterprise work to make this happen? It uses a really precise 4-step controlled execution stack. Step 1 is assess, where you nail down requirements and risks before the real work even starts. Step 2 is build, generating your apps and packages. Step 3 is review, explicitly checking QA and GDPR compliance. And lastly, handover, preparing evidence-led delivery packs. This clear model keeps your team's momentum super high while making sure responsibility is visible at every single stage.
What's super cool about this in practice is how rigidly those handovers are controlled. The system literally will not let you export a submission or deploy a portal until a human actually records their approval in the workflow. The AI can do the heavy lifting, like preparing the final document or compiling the evidence, but a human must definitively turn the key.
Which leads us perfectly into Part 4, keeping humans in control.
When your AI is interacting directly with customers, like acting as a voice assistant, it absolutely must operate under strict, explicit constraints. The AI doesn't just wing it, it operates strictly via published guidance. You predefine the tone of voice, say, keeping it calm and professional. You set rigid handover rules, dictating exactly when it needs to pass the conversation to a human. And crucially, you hard-code prohibited promises so the AI can't just invent a random discount, guarantee a completion time, or start offering unverified legal advice.
You can see how this is managed right here in the AI Control Center. Team leaders can draft, update, and publish these precise guardrails for everyone to see. There are specific fields for emergency wording, prohibited promises, you name it. This ensures the team fully controls how the AI interacts with the public. And check out the version history. Even the instructions you give to the AI are version-controlled and auditable. That is execution honesty at the prompt level.
And speaking of those prompts, setting specific emergency phrases is an absolute must for safety. If a caller says something like gas leak, smell gas, or electric shock, the AI is strictly governed to halt its standard workflow instantly. It doesn't try to troubleshoot the problem, it triggers a safe, immediate human escalation. This is a perfect example of prioritizing safety and human oversight over just blindly completing a task.
Finally, Section 5, Proving Compliance and Security. So, you've got this control in place, but how do you definitively prove your compliance to stakeholders or regulators? It all comes back to 4 trust-by-design principles. In a true governed operating layer, data protection is hardwired, not an afterthought. Data stays scoped to the organization boundary. Permissions follow actual responsibility, not convenience. Human approvals keep decisions visible. And audit and GDPR workflows are just part of daily operations, meaning you're literally generating compliance evidence just by doing your everyday work.
To maintain all of this, you don't just use a static spreadsheet. You use a security readiness risk register that actively tracks and mitigates threats. It highlights critical risks like data exposure or exposed API keys, assigns clear owners, sets target dates, and actually links to the exact missing evidence you need to close the loop. And before you even think about rolling an AI assistant into production, the Control Center forces mandatory launch gates. We're talking DPIA approvals and legal identification verification that must be thoroughly reviewed. If those gates aren't cleared, the AI simply does not launch. It guarantees your operations are legally sound before a single customer ever interacts with your system.
As we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a thought to really challenge how you adopt AI moving forward. We've seen that just bolting AI onto a loose tool set is a recipe for operational disaster. The future belongs to teams who build within governed, auditable layers. So ask yourself, when your team builds what comes next, will every single action be verifiable? Are you ready to demand true execution honesty from your tools? Because if it isn't governed, it just isn't ready for production. Thanks so much for joining me today, and keep expecting more from your tech.